Hello and welcome back to the Advancing Healthcare Innovation Show. I am your host, Michael Stamatinos. And if you're new to us, man, we're really excited to have you here because we are bringing some incredible conversations with some phenomenal leaders that are painstakingly reshaping the future of health. And we happen to be crazy passionate about a few different areas. We're passionate about healthcare innovation, access, leadership, and the adoption of that innovation. And if it's your first time tuning in, let me take a quick step back and tell you a little bit more about what we're really trying to get done here. So, our focus is on bringing real stories of real leaders within our space to life. And the aim is highlighting the folks that are actually truly innovating, getting stuff done, and giving them the platform to be able to share their story with our community and ultimately with the world. We've got an amazing action-packed year, and if you haven't had the opportunity to watch any of our historical interviews, however you're ingesting this, whether you're listening to it or watching it, please hit the subscribe button now so that any new interviews come directly to you. So every now and again, you meet someone that really kind of redefines what access really means. And Sabrina Lamb is one of those people. And when we talk about access, it's not just about care. It's about food, it's about housing, education, financial stability, opportunity. Because when you help people gain access to those things, you are improving health. You're changing what's possible. Sabrina is the founder and CEO of Wekeza, the first Black woman-owned investing app created for the African diaspora. Wekeza, gives people the chance to invest in U.S. markets, starting with just $1, while learning in their own language: English, Swahili, French, Haitian Creole, Hausa, Wolof, and Zulu. And it's not just an investing platform. In my mind, it's a bridge. So before Wekeza, Sabrina built World of Money, a nonprofit that has educated thousands of young people across the globe, from New York to Senegal, giving them the financial tools and mindset to build generational wealth. And she's been recognized by Congress, honored nationally, and even took home the grand prize at the Silicon Harlem See Better pitch competition. So her story isn't just defined and doesn't fit inside one lane. She's actually a 3-time marathon finisher, a founder who's taken company through Techstars and Y Combinator. However, like what ties all of those things together for me, it's her mission to dismantle these barriers that keep people locked out of capital, of opportunity, of the systems that shape their futures. And this is why this conversation really matters. It matters to me immensely. It ought to matter to you as well. But Sabrina's work proves that financial health is health. It's not separate from care. It's the foundation for it. So Sabrina, it's great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Honored to be here, Michael, and thank you for that kind introduction.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure. So Sabrina, before I kind of dig into stuff, I want to kind of start grounding us by, you've lived kind of a few different lives. You've been a comedian, in radio, to running marathons, to launching a fintech company. I mean, and so when someone meets you for the first time and asks, "So, what do you do?" I mean, how do you even begin to answer that?
Well, I always respond with clarifying their question. I will say, is your question what brings me joy,
Mm.
or is it how I make my money? And then I wait for the answer. And usually that question's a coy way trying to understand how I make my money. But I would also love for them to know who I am and that how I make my money, which is important, of course, does not underscore or make me more or less valuable as a person. I would love for people to get to know one another And so asking the question, for example, Michael, what brings you joy?
Yeah, what brings me joy is by being able to facilitate access for others. And when you can do it, especially when others are trying and they can't, and then you get to do it and you see the outcomes of it,
Yes.
that's just, it's hard to describe.
Yes.
It's really great.
Yes. So I like to broaden the help the person who probably didn't even think that we're going to go there. How can
Mm,
we have a keener understanding of one another as opposed to what do you do? Well, what do
yeah,
I do when?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, when you founded World of Money, just kind of go back there for a moment. It was kind of long before fintech was a buzzword. What sort of moment first made you, I mean, even just realize that financial education wasn't just about money. It was about dignity.
Michael, I will never forget that moment. There are certain tipping points, like Malcolm Gladwell always writes
Hmm.
about.
Mm.
I was in attendance to a financial workshop for myself. Up until that moment, I'm an adult, graduated from college, living in New York City, and trying to understand my own relationship with money. And then that aha moment, that whisper came that said, what if children could learn what you're learning this weekend?
Hmm.
And so I began to ask around here in New York City, about providing financial workshops here and there, and the response was varied. One was, I'm not, if I don't know it, my child's not going to know it. Another was, are you going to pay me to, allow my child to participate? The other was, I would love for my child to know more. And then when you bring back the curtain on those type of and there are more of parental money types and responses, when you peel back, it's often a lot of trauma, a lot of health
Mm.
related issues, and so that's what's spiriting their responses with regard to that. And so started off with a small cohort, maybe of 10 students, and it expanded and to over 15,000 children. And I learned from children, particularly those who would say, I don't believe, I would say, you save your money, you save your life. Oh, Miss Lamb, that's not what, I don't believe that I deserve that. A child would say that. A child would say that. And then
Wow.
his family would feel that too. And then when I began to be acquainted with different families and
Right.
see the health related traumas that they're experiencing, this idea of, well, you just save your money, everybody, and everything's going to be wonderful. But if they don't believe that their life is worth saving, they
Mm.
will not save a nickel. And that's when I knew that this was deeper than, okay, everybody, let's budget. Everybody, come on.
Yeah, you're in essence drilling down to the core identity.
Because otherwise, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? If I'm
Yeah.
if I'm giving a form or a workshop for 20 people, there's 20 different adult money archetypes sitting there. And so one is going to be the dictator saying, I was told when I was young that this is not a conversation I'm supposed to have. Because everybody intellectually understands the power of money in their life, but
Right.
sometimes maybe the saboteur says, but my power, even though it doesn't benefit me, that I'm experiencing anxiety or depression, or maybe even joy, comes with me being a saboteur in my own life because I'm waiting for Michael or someone to come over the hill to save me. That's where my power is. And so having that kind of understanding, I wrote a book about it called Do I Look Like an ATM? A Parent's Guide to Raising Financially Responsible African American Children, but it's for all children. But
That's
when
right.
parents hear about the title, they say, well, I'm going to give this book to my child. I said, no, 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 no. The book is for you. right? It's for you because the child who's often a financial sociopath feels, um, uh, I'm just going to sit here and just drag every nickel and dime out of my parents, and I don't care whether or not they have a savings account. That's just how children are.
Hmm.
So it's a deep understanding and matter. It affects cultures, it affects genders, and so that's where I started and grew from learning, from listening to people.
Hmm. So take me back to a moment, maybe, you're teaching a cohort of kiddos, and maybe it's a conversation with a student. When you first saw that light go on, I'm thinking about back in the day when I was learning how to read. Like it was just like letters and words, and I was like, I don't even get it. And then one day, like, boom, it's like, wow, this makes sense. What's that like, for someone that's learning about money for the first time? Do you have any stories you can share around that?
I see when I would have parent workshops for the children who the parents
Hmm.
enroll the children to attend World of Money, someone, and it's usually more than one person, a parent that openly weeps
Hmm.
because of the health related anxiety, depression, lack of confidence that they have. I see in children who, prior to walking through World of Money's doors and then experiencing our wealth affirmations, that their body posture changes from an
Hmm.
head held high. And when I tell them and remind them every single day, going around to each child saying, "You are perfect as you are.
Yeah,
You don't have to spend another nickel to fill the emptiness that you may feel in your soul." Those children leave World of Money, return home, and the parents don't recognize their child because their child the next morning is so excited to come to attend World of Money because that is a safe space, or
yeah,
a space that told them that they're perfect as they are, and align their spirit, their very being to this powerful currency called money, one of the
that's
most
right.
powerful currencies in the world besides love or your religion spiritual practice.
Hmm. I want to go back because you're a stand-up comedian, and that's fascinating. So maybe aside from you having to tell me a very well-timed joke, which may or may not happen in this conversation, don't know. Be lucky if it does. But comedy teaches, timing and truth-telling. I'm curious, your background doing stand-up, how did that sort of shape how you teach about money and power?
My experience on stages in front of strangers really informed how this subject is delivered. Everyone loves a story. Everyone loves
Mm,
a story. And when you're talking about such a hard, rigid energy called money, it's like a hardness to it. But then you soften it up with stories
mm,
and maybe a little bit of humor and place the listener into that story and then end with inspiration. That's that experience of being a performer, whether it was stand up or being a solo performance performer as well, inform how I deliver this information and how I
mm,
teach our teachers how to deliver this information.
mm. Fascinating. All right, let's switch gears for a moment. Let's talk about Wekeza. Um, what does Wekeza mean? Is there
Wekeza means save and invest in Swahili.
mm.
Yeah,
So as
yeah.
you were working on World of Money, talk about how this idea started to form and you started to think, okay, this is something that absolutely needs to get built because there seems to be a bridge between both of those.
There's an absolute direct bridge. Michael, I always encourage people to really listen to, I'm going to use
Mm,
this word again, their whispers that they that listen to the whispers that they have this inner conversation with themselves.
Right.
And I was in Nairobi, Kenya, teaching, speaking at a conference there, a seamless fintech conference. And I was also doing some workshops at the University of Nairobi. And I was
Okay.
listening to regulators and students, and everyone's clamoring, we need more of this, we need world of money, we need to learn. And I'm saying, well, what is the barriers to receiving financial education and access to investing in Kenyan securities? And the
Mm.
barriers were cultural or a language, or you couldn't invest in a Kenyan security unless you had all the money to a commission to pay a broker. There was no fractional or shares. And that's where Wekeza was born. It was born in Kenya, the idea of it. And at that time, this was 2017, and there was not, if you would, and I do remember, I was talking to people about, well, this Wekeza, we're going to have everybody from Africa investing in US publicly, and people were like, what? You are nuts. And now it is, it's just amazing that it's fully evolved. So that that experience, and that's where Wekeza was born, and I'm proud to say that's where it was born. But at the same time, I was leading World of Money, and I had to figure out, okay, how what's going to be my role in these two organizations.
Right, right,
And
right, right.
so World of Money fits, under Wekeza, because World of Money is for children, part
That's
English
right.
school, and then Wekeza is for families and schools and financial institutions.
Mm. Yeah, the way that I started sort of digging into this and thinking deeply about it, like there's sort of this beautiful irony in teaching people to invest in markets. But what you're also doing at the same time is you're really asking them to invest in themselves. Um, do you often find yourself having to sort of guide these people across the bridge from, learning about it, but then having to participate? Because my gut is telling me that there might be a fear to participate.
Mm-hmm. I feel, or what I'm experiencing is kind of the opposite a little bit, but when I look at the research regarding the African American community, less than 6% invest in US stocks or mutual funds or what have you. And because of the
6%, less
way
than
that
6%?
less than 6%. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, it's
Wow.
the advertisement here and so forth, but those great companies that are spending millions of dollars on their marketing are not speaking to people of African descent. And because of the history in this country of being traumatized by financial institution, that issue of trust often pops up. And
Mm,
so that's where I have to always recognize where this comes from. But at the same time, it's going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides out of my mouth. There's a keen interest in investing because many companies do not offer 401k plans, or they don't have pensions. So how can they grow their money and still have a lower barrier to entry? And that's why we have fractional and whole shares. And it's also the shiny thing for a lot of people. I don't want the first financial behavior that one decides to do to invest. I want their
mm,
first shiny thing to do is to learn their why. Learn why you're investing in this company. Do you have a 6 months or 3 month savings plan?
hmm.
Are you managing your money? Are you lowering your debt? Is your credit in order? Do you know your credit score? Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have insurance? All of that is part of this circle of money. And so yes, I we
I mean, you're
lead
really
based
talking
on
about an overall comprehensive financial plan.
comprehensive. It's not one thing.
Hmm.
And we could have launched the app and said, come on, everybody, come in and invest. For me, that would not be responsible. Okay, because many people do not ask their questions. They heard someone on YouTube say, you should invest in this company, and I made $1 million when they really didn't. And then, but that's not the proper way. I did this a blog and said, well, how do you research a company? And what's your why? And knowing as a consumer, you're already an investor. Everything
Mm.
that we have on the kind of, camera equipment that we're using right now for this interview, we've invested in that company. And what I'm saying to generations of people is to now take the next step in being an investor in the company that you already support by purchasing a fractional or whole share.
Mm. So you're a marathoner, right? You've run a few different marathons. I'm just thinking about this from a journey standpoint. If Wekeza is on this journey, what mile are you on right now? And what's been sort of like the toughest hill?
I'm cool. So when you're so in New York City, there's I think we had to cover two bridges coming over the Manhattan 59th Street Bridge.
You're also
And it's
going
kind
over
of
the
down.
Verrazano initially. The Verrazano is no joke.
Yes, but yes, and you have to be careful of that Verrazano because that's the beginning of the race, the marathon, and everyone's running. It's so exciting. And Sabrina is just taking her time because this is just the first like 3, 4, 5 miles
Mm.
into, to the next borough. Take your time because the same people that are sprinting ahead and all excited and everything, you're going to pass them on mile 18 going up that slope going up First Avenue in Manhattan. Okay. And then after the people, the little children are handing you little handfuls of dirty oranges that you have to accept. Then you go up this slope on 106th Street off of Fifth Avenue that it just may be like this. It might as well be Mount Everest. And the point is to pace yourself, to
Mm.
pace yourself. Yes, you're going to experience winds and be a creator of how you do it. But whatever you do, no matter who you are or what you're pursuing, is to take a step and keep moving. Just keep moving.
Mm. Mm. I like that. Let me ask you this, because I spoke about it earlier about access. People usually think healthcare when you say access. However, with your work specifically, it shows that access to housing and a comprehensive financial plan. It's much more all-encompassing that ultimately feeds into health. And you've seen firsthand how financial stress shows up in people's lives. Um, what if money were treated like a public health issue? What would change?
Whoa, whoa. That's a powerful question. I think number one, the arrogance of and the awareness
Mm,
of our financial system would disappear. There are in the United States a significant amount of communities who reside there in economic darkness.
mm,
And it feels as though in the West, United States, Europe or so, it's okay that they are in darkness and don't and feel that, well, we built this and this is how we think we should be, as opposed to speaking with and to these communities. When I was speaking with friends in around the corner in Little Senegal, asking them, well, who do you bank with? Do you bank with the Chase on the corner or what have you? And their
yeah.
answer is no. Well, why not? No one really invited us, you know? Or my friends from
Mm,
Ethiopia, uh, understanding that in the Harar ethnic group, there is no such term as economic or financial independence. No,
mm,
it's about community. So if your sister in Ethiopia needs a new whatever, It is your spiritual duty to send money home.
Mm,
And so when you see, or the flow of billions of dollars back to African countries, each country, Liberia, $85 billion every year sent home. Understanding the cultural financial behavior, then you can't walk into the Harar ethnic group with, okay, everybody, this is how we teach it in the United States of America. You lose the crowd. You'll get booed
yeah,
like at the
you're
Apollo.
out. You're out. Oh man. So there's this understanding, this level of sensitivity that you have to have, and you're it's like it's a tightrope. You're walking that fine balance. So
It's
if you were to
it's
go, please finish.
yeah, I was going to say it's sensitivity and respect. It's not walking
Mm,
to, and I remember in our
mm,
early conversations, I learned about you and your heritage, as opposed to
yeah,
just, you're some, generic person. There's a story behind
that's
you
right.
and Greece and so forth. Unpacking who that person is so you can really, you know, respond to what they say that they need as opposed to you telling them what it is.
Mm. So as you start to expand, I just can't help but go down this way. If, just say you're sitting down with like a global health minister and you want to convince them that investing in this financial literacy is healthcare. What 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 sort of story would you tell them to make them believe it?
Mhm. That the market lady, who right now is walking through traffic from the central center of Accra selling oranges on her head and others walking, that they deserve the same kind of respect and
Mm,
service as the teacher in Seattle.
mm,
And by supporting her and listening to and understanding her culture,
right.
and her presence in her own community, by empowering her, you empower your nation.
That's right.
You empower the nation.
Mm. Because you've spoken about how culture shapes our money mindset. I guess in your view, I guess what's one sort of inherited belief about money that holds communities back? And then the follow on is like, well, how do we rewrite that narrative?
Mm. I think the rescuer syndrome holds back communities. Uh,
Rescuer syndrome?
right. That the waiting for the rescue to come,
Mm,
waiting for the rescue to come. And what I say is not coming. Nobody's coming.
facts.
No one's coming. And I think more of us need to say that. And then take what you have and save something, because I know it may break your heart. No one's coming.
Mm,
Services are going to be dissipated and already have, in other countries. And I always say it because I want to hear about people, well, I'm moving to whatever country. And I said this yesterday. I said, you have to have money when you move to these other countries, okay? And there's no economic safety net. So if you think you're going to paradise, you might as well just stay here and work it out. So just moving, the first thing we have to do is just move away this fantasy that we have about money, and that we can just spend our way to happiness. That if I
hmm
spend another, uh, uh, buy another purse, that's gonna I'm gonna feel good, a little bit of time. But I'm
Temporarily.
going to have to purchase more purses to fill the emptiness. And I'm saying, start with your emptiness. Because I
Mm.
often say, you see this sweater, you see this dress, well, guess what? You're going to see it again. Because I just don't do stores. I used to, but I no longer do stores. like that.
Mm, mm. I'm curious with your background in stand-up, do you, and this is like a, money can be a really serious topic. I'm just curious, how do you use humor to kind of disarm people,
Hmm.
when talking about these serious topics? Do you or no?
Uh, well, I don't do stand up anymore, but I infuse
But
humor.
and yeah,
Yeah.
using those skills, like how do you use those skills, like if you use humor at all in
You
this?
say what everybody's thinking. That's what satirists, humorists, that's what we do. We say what everybody's thinking. You know it's true. Whatever I'm saying, you
Mm,
know it is true. So that brings about a levity or a humor to a situation. Just say what everyone's thinking. And so when with my book, Do I Look Like an ATM? It resonates with people because that's how parents feel, and then often they chuckle from the title.
yeah, honestly, it's an amazing title.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. All right, so let's have you give a little bit of a commercial for Wekeza. Like tell people how they can follow you, your story, like tell us where to go and where we can, leverage the resources that you and the team have put together.
Well, before they do, just have a self inventory on where you
Mm,
are in your life with regard to your health and your money.
mm,
And see what other parts of your being and your financial behaviors you can kind of pull back on, not deny yourself, because it's almost like dieting. No one wants to diet, no one wants to budget. I get that. But I often think that our budget, when we look at our bank statement, and I have to remind myself all the time to look at my bank statement and look particularly those subscriptions, because our bank statements are a reflection of our values.
mm,
We spend money on what we value. Now, what we spend money on, will it sustain us health wise, financially for your lifetime? That's the question you need to ask. And you can learn more about yourself. We have a money personality on Wekeza. The app is on both app stores. But I would encourage everyone, let's just take this moment in time to reflect on where we are with our relationship with money, and then also do like an ancestral review on how did your parents influence you,
hmm
your grandparents, etc., and see what cycles you can break, even if it's just a
mm,
little bit, and then return to your relationship with money with believing that by saving money, you're sending a signal to your own life that you are worth saving, and
hmm
then you'll feel better. With the American Heart Association, Psychology Association attribute 3 out of 5 Americans are suffering from anxiety and depression, and it's all related to that unspoken powerful currency, money.
3 out of every 5. Wow, pretty big stat. Pretty
Yes.
big stat. Oh, so let's just say we're looking back, fast forward maybe 20 years from now, and we're looking back, and someone says, Sabrina Lamb, she changed the way we think about dot dot dot. How would you finish that sentence?
Mm. She opened the door to the final frontier, and this well-hyped phrase called financial inclusion. And when Pray God Williams, one of our Wekeza, we call them cousins, in Tanzania, or Mohammed in Senegal, who have just been sitting in the economic darkness, Michael, that the lights start to come on. And
Yeah.
because we're speaking to them in Wolof, in Swahili, in Hausa, And then you think that we have an extensive library, and we do, of languages. Of course, here come the Igbo tribe from Nigeria. Well, where are we? Yeah. Well, that's coming. That's coming because that we're talking about over 1 billion people, Michael, who are just ignored. Well, not
Mm,
anymore. That's what Wekeza.com is here for.
interesting. And we spoke about this a little bit off camera, but I wanted to kind of bring it up. Like, when you finally slow down, which you're a hard charger, probably is not often. What what kind of gives you peace?
Hmm. Well, I enjoy what I do, you know.
Yeah.
My Buddhist practice gives me peace.
Mm.
Um, Sunsets give me peace. Children give me peace. Um, and yeah, and good food gives me peace.
Amen to that. Last question. I th I think about human beings are a lot like a bank account, and you need to deposit into those relationship. I call it relationship equity. Who has deposited the most relationship equity in your life, and
Mm,
how has that shaped how you lead?
mm. Charlie Blackwell,
Charlie
who
Blackwell.
was the first African American stage manager on Broadway, who adopted me, really, not in the formal sense, but adopted
Yeah.
me, particularly when I came to New York, and just always reminded me on just Sabrina, you can do it, you can go. And I have his photo over there. I always think about him. I think about my grandparents and parents, particularly my grandparents and great aunts, who, when I would share of an accomplishment, they would go Beamer, you go Beamer. And so if they were here, they're here spiritually, but if they were
Yeah.
here, they would be so excited, not clearly understanding, but because they lived a financially responsible lives, I
Hmm.
want to do the honor of doing the same. They were maids on Miami Beach all of their lives. They owned their own homes. They would leave vacation to come home to pay a bill. They paid their funerals in advance, and they died debt free. And I would like to honor their financial stewardness
Mm.
by doing the same. Because even though they were doing that, they didn't teach me to do that because they were loving on me by taking me to the mall. So, and I was going too. But now I
Yeah.
really get it. And so I want to honor them, Charlie, and so many others that continue to encourage me.
Mm. It's been so nice to chat with you today. Honestly, it's been a real delight.
And
Lots
you.
of golden nuggets. So for those that are tuning in, you're listening to this. Sabrina really reminded us that access, it's just not just a word that you throw around in healthcare. It's the thread that really runs through everything in life, uh, food, housing, opportunity, financial wellness. All that leads to dignity. And Sabrina, you're now building bridges between these worlds. That, in my opinion, were never meant to be separate.
Mm.
Finance, health, culture, community. It's all a piece of rope. It's all one singular strand. And you're doing it with the kind of conviction that, makes you believe that we can actually change things. One conversation, one connection, one act of access at a time. Now, you just so happen to have a platform that allows you to do that at scale. It's great. But for those that are listening, and if there's one thing that I want you to take away from today, it's this, is that when you help people build wealth, you're helping them build health. And because access in every form, it's a vital sign. That's what it is. So if this conversation moved you, challenged you, or made you think differently, please, would you mind sharing this episode? And if there is a topic that you want us to explore, or maybe even a leader that you'd like to hear from, yeah, drop me a note, leave a comment. We read them. This is a platform that is absolutely about community. It isn't just only about content. So thanks for listening. Keep building with purpose, and we'll see you next time on the Advancing Healthcare Innovation Show.